case with biological sex and just how that's being used to undermine the rights of it's never the rights of men, it's always the rights of women 100% of the time. And I think we've got to be very careful about that. My time has expired, and the chairman, I'm such a good citizen, I never go over. So I'll just submit some questions for the record for you, Dr. Schwinn, and others. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Hawley. Senator Kaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses. I think I'm going to focus questions to Dr. Schwinn and Ms. Ritchie about higher education. And Ms. Ritchie, I decided to do this. My staff hates it when they give me questions and I end up going a different direction, but you had a wonderful statement in your prepared testimony that I read. Students cannot gain the knowledge or skills they need to be successful in life if they're unable to access educational programs and activities. I completely agree with that. I would ask each of you on that point, helping students gain access to education and educational activities, do you agree that the Pell Grant program has been a pretty important program?
Yeah, Senator, I'll start. I don't know if I certainly, in my current capacity at the Florida Department of Education, I certainly see the benefits. OCR's involvement in those programs is, fairly limited.
Right.
But I certainly am committed to working with the Secretary.
Thank you. Dr. Schwinn, how about Pell Grant important?
As a former high school teacher and certainly at every level of education, I think it is important that students, especially low-income students, have access to educational opportunities. At the same time, it is also important that we start to put some restrictions on the skyrocketing cost of higher education.
How about federal work study? That is a way that low-income kids can afford colleges. Federal work study's long-standing program, is that generally a good thing?
I'll go ahead and go first on this one. So I believe that it is important that students have opportunities to earn money as they are enrolled in universities, colleges, trade schools, et cetera. I also think that I agree with an earlier statement that I heard Secretary McMahon make, which is that it is important for universities and education institutions to also have a piece of that pie and to have a strong stake in that. And so I think the most important thing is that students have access to resources so that they can make their way through.
Including federal work study. They can work on campus and make some money and help afford college better that way.
I think it is a great model for students to be able to work on campus.
Ms. Ritchie, federal work study, a good way to help students gain access to higher ed.
Sorry, Senator. Again, in my current role, I have certainly seen it be a value add. I'm not sure that it directly relates to my role within UCR.
How about student loan programs like the Undergrad Plus or the, subsidized undergrad and Grad Plus loans? Are those one way that we can help students gain access to education programs?
I feel like my answer is the same on this, Senator. I'm sorry, I'll pass it to
I won't make you
Dr.
repeat
Schwinn.
it. Yeah,
I'm going to have to say the same thing. I would certainly look to the Undersecretary for advice on that.
And then how about in public service loan forgiveness? That's not at the front end, but people who have loans in these loan programs that you've generally said are generally positive, if they have the ability to have loans forgiven for public service pursuant to congressional laws, that generally a good thing in terms of helping people have access?
I think, again, sir, it falls outside of my scope within OCR. It's something that I would have to work directly with the Secretary on.
Are you aware of public service loan forgiveness as a concept?
I am.
And not opposed to it?
It just falls outside of my scope, outside of my knowledge.
Dr. Schwinn?
Thank you for the question. I'm also aware of the programs. There are a variety of them. I think I appreciate the intent around those going into public service. Having support, I also think that I would want to review each and every one individually.
Let me do this, if the audience will indulge me on this. If you or members of your family have been benefited by Pell Grant, work study, student loan programs, or public service loan forgiveness, just raise your hand if you've been benefited by programs like that. Okay, got a good number of hands raised in the audience. President Trump's latest budget slashes the Pell Grant award by $1,685. It also says that you don't get the full-time Pell Grant award if you're 12 hours a semester. You have to go up to 15 hours, which impacts a whole lot of people who work and go to school. The House Republican proposal that is in front of us eliminates Pell Grant eligibility for students who are less than half-time, impacting working people who are going to school. Work study, it's $1.2 billion. President Trump has almost zeroed it out. He's eliminated $990 million, thus gutting federal work study programs. President Trump's budget is eliminating the Grad Plus and subsidized student loan programs. And in the first Trump administration, there was an essential gutting of public service loan forgiveness, not by changing the statute, but just refusing to grant public service loan forgiveness. Ms. Ritchie testified that this is an administration that is the first to focus on the needs of the students. I think that's a hubristic statement. I think other administrations have focused on the needs of the students. But as I conclude, I hardly see how slashing Pell Grant, federal work study, loan programs, public service loan forgiveness is focusing upon the needs of students and giving them the access to educational programs that I think we all want to achieve. I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Senator